Hello students, today we are beginning with the new chapter of chemistry, that is chemical reactions and equations. To master the concepts, you must be aware with the first 20 elements. Also, you must be aware about the chemical symbols of various elements, followed by you should be aware of the anions and cations list. So, to begin with the chapter, first of all, let's talk about what all you will be going to study in the chapter. So in the chapter, we will be dealing with various types of reactions, right? Then we will be looking at the balancing of the chemical equations, followed by the temperature dependence of exothermic and endothermic reactions. So to proceed further, let's talk about chemical changes first. So before proceeding with chemical changes, are you aware of the physical changes and chemical changes? Do you know the differences between chemical changes and physical changes? I'm sure you must have dealt with this concept in your previous classes, but let's take a quick example for both the changes. So what about physical changes? What are the physical changes? Physical changes are those in which no new substance is formed. Think about the example of boiling of water. Do we get a new substance? No, it is just the same substance and there is a change in state. That is, water is converted into water vapors. Right, this is what boiling of water. There is no new substance formed, so we call it a physical change. But what about chemical changes? Let's look at some of the examples of chemical changes. So when we talk about combustion, how do we do combustion of fuel? We burn the fuel in presence of oxygen and the new substance is formed like carbon dioxide and water, right? And similarly, if we talk about rust, have you seen rusting on fences or bridges? Yes, rusting actually is the formation of a new substance, that is iron oxide. Then when we talk about digestion, is digestion of food a chemical change? Is there a new substance formed? Think about that. So if we have digestion of carbohydrates, carbohydrate on digestion convert into simpler substances, that is glucose. Protein on digestion converts into simpler substances, that is amino acids. So definitely digestion produces new substances. Then when we talk about photosynthesis, what happens in photosynthesis? Definitely plants make their food. But when they make their food, a new substance is formed. Carbon dioxide and water, they combine in presence of sunlight to produce food, that is glucose. So in all the given reactions or examples, we can say that new substance is formed. That is why it's a chemical change. And whenever there is a chemical change, there must be some energy supplied to or taken out of the matter. So it means chemical changes usually occur with the change in energy. Either energy is absorbed or it is evolved, right? And can we say that chemical change is actually a chemical reaction? Yes. So whenever a chemical change occurs, a chemical reaction has taken place, right? Now let's proceed with the activities to understand the concept better. So how can we say that a chemical change is a chemical reaction? And how can we say what kind of changes actually occur during a chemical reaction? So when we begin with the first activity here, you can see that burning of magnesium ribbon. What happens when magnesium ribbon burns? So when we burn magnesium ribbon, magnesium burns in presence of oxygen. Whenever you burn anything, it should be burnt in presence of oxygen because oxygen is the supporter of combustion, right? So what happens when we burn oxygen? In this reaction, you can see the beautiful white dazzling flame is produced. Yes, so a white dazzling flame is produced with white powder formed. And how do we write the product? Because as I said, it's a chemical change. There must be a new product formed. So magnesium on reacting with oxygen produces magnesium oxide. To write the correct equation, you must be aware with the correct valencies. As I know, magnesium is 2 plus and oxide is O2 minus. So when you crisscross the valency, then you will get MgO. I understand the reaction is not balanced here. Let's quickly do that. I can see there are 2 oxygen atoms here, so I will put 2 here as the coefficient. And now I have 2 magnesium atoms to the right hand side, so I put 2 here. Right, so we will be dealing with more balancing after few topics. But first of all, what happens in the activity? Do you see any kind of a color change? Yes, there is a color change. A beautiful white dazzling flame appears during the burning of magnesium ribbon. Right, now let's talk about another activity. So now this activity is reaction of lead nitrate with potassium iodide solution. What happens when you treat, suppose this is potassium iodide and suppose this is lead nitrate. When you look at the diagram, you can clearly see that both the solutions are colorless. But what happens after their reaction? So when you mix both the solutions, actually a yellow precipitate appears. So there is a color change here again, and what happens in the reaction? Lead nitrate is PbNO3 whole twice. And when it combines with potassium iodide, that is Ki, there is the exchange of ions. And how there is exchange of ions? Lead combined with iodide to form PbI2 plus what will be the another product formed? Potassium will combine with nitrate to form KNO3. And how will we balance the equation? As I can see, there are 2 nitrate ions here. So I should put twice of KNO3 to make nitrate twice. And in order to do that, I can see there are 2 potassium atoms now. So I will put 2 here. So 2 Ki, and iodine is also balanced. So this lead iodide formed, this is actually yellow PPT. Right? So there is a color change whenever a chemical reaction or chemical change taking place. We observe that whenever a chemical reaction takes place, a new substance is formed. Am I right? There is a chemical change occur, and that chemical change actually involves 2 basic things. One, there is either absorption of energy or liberation of energy, and there will be new products formed. Right? So collectively, this is this process in which new substance is formed, chemical change takes place, and there is the exchange of energy in either release of energy or gain of energy. Then we call it a chemical reaction. And then how do we describe a chemical reaction? What kind of changes actually occur in a chemical reaction? So whenever we do a chemical reaction, the following things takes place. There could be change in temperature, as you had seen that we actually burnt magnesium ribbon in presence of oxygen. There is change in state. Where was the change in state you observed, children? When you actually saw that magnesium was solid, and when it was treated with oxygen gas, it produced MgO solid. So the state change can also happen. And then, is there any production of gas? Did you observe any activity in which there was production of gas? Yes, there was. When hydrogen gas was liberated, when zinc granules were added to H2SO4. And then there could be formation of precipitate. See this beautiful yellow precipitate we observed during the formation of lead iodide. And then, was there any color change during the precipitate formation? Yes, we observed yellow precipitate appeared during the precipitate formation. Thank you.